A is for Alcoholic is a program about recovery. My name is John and I'm an alcoholic.
And my name is Jerry and I'm an alcoholic.
Join us as we go through the alphabet of alcoholism one letter at a time.
Yeah, it's appropriate that you can start it with a Limp Bizkit.
Keep rolling.
Yeah.
I thought that song was about doing ecstasy.
What's it
about?
Oh, what's it about?
I don't know, dumb shit.
Oh, he's in his car.
Yeah, he's in his car. It's basically like any adversity that comes, I'll fucking put my Centro right through it.
Yeah. Oh man, what a fucking. So I do want to say something at the top of the show here that we're recording this on Sunday, which is November 1st, and it won't be out. You'll be listening to this Friday, which will be November 5th, and there's going to be something. I think things are going to be very, very vastly different in many ways on the 5th that are not currently, politically, presidentially, and
recovery-wise,
I think that it's going to be,
a shitload of relapses out there.
I really hope not. And
yeah, me too.
I think if you've listened to the podcast long enough that you know that where Jerry and I stand politically, mostly we just want to throw the whole thing in the garbage and fucking start all over and, maybe try and take care of some people who need some help. And I don't know what that makes us, socialist anarchists.
I don't know, dude. I'm like you said, I'm dressed like Antifa.
I guess I'm dressed like I should be ready I'm ready to go on the yacht. I got my little white polo shirt.
Yeah, I don't know. Politically, John and I we're Gen X, dude.
We're Gen X. We're pretty liberal. We're pretty leftist. Please, I'm not fucking. My point is, and we've gone through some shit, and there's been a few shows where we focused primarily on like political stuff, only because it was what the fuck is going on in the world.
Right.
And it's I think there's a difference between political and, discussing policies about how to make the world a better place versus moral issues that come up. And, I think in recovery, we deal with a lot of that stuff. And I know that I try to lead with kindness and compassion and understanding and learning and listening and all of these things that have helped me have a better life. And I think that they can help everybody else have a better life. And I think that regardless of the outcome, and wherever we're at on Friday when you're listening to this, like there's no reason to drink.
Yeah, don't.
I don't plan on, if I am devastated, if I am depleted, if I am, if things don't go my way, like part of the tools are, well, they're probably not going to go your fucking way. So you learn to live with them, life on life's terms, all that kind of good business.
Yeah.
So if you're wondering what we think about the election or any of that, I guess it'll have to wait till next week.
That's when we lose a bunch of listeners.
Mm-hmm. So, and I don't think that if you have political leanings that differ from mine, I would certainly, and I think Jerry and I have both discussed this before, if you had a problem with alcohol and you wanted my help, I would reach, I would extend my hand to somebody who needed help, and it wouldn't.
Yeah.
And I think that's too a lot of reasons why in the rooms they say, please keep your discussions to the, confined to your problems.
To your problems with alcohol. Yeah.
Right. Now, This is a podcast. This is not a rooms, and we are not constrained by, the rules of some programs, but still, I think that we try. Obviously, you wouldn't be here if you weren't interested in listening to us sometimes rant and ramble about alcohol. But I just don't think that there's a reason to drink, and I think that it could be very easy to give yourself an excuse to feel so devastated or so sad, or that your world is going to end because of who sits in a particular office. And there are huge ramifications to it regardless. But I would just say take a breath if you haven't already. It's been a couple of days. That's what I'm gonna do. I was even thinking, like, I don't think that I'm gonna fucking have the news on or anything on election night. I think that I'm gonna turn everything off, and I don't
Not
know.
me.
Records. No, you'll
I'm
be
gonna
there.
fucking mainline that poison. Yeah.
Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
I'm on the
All
edge
right.
of it. I might as well go all the fucking way at this
All
point.
right.
I mean, I'm like absolutely obsessed with it. This has not been a great time in my life right now. Has it been the worst time? No, but it's not been a good time either, though. I'm in the middle of doing a cross country move where I have hardly any money and no fucking job and no job or house lined up for me in the place I'm going to on the eve of like a really fucking crazy election during a wild ass pandemic that's at the highest fucking peak it's ever been at. It's, you know, it's been a pretty good, pretty rough. Yeah. It's just, it's eating a whole bag of dicks. So I don't know what to do with that, but that is what it is, It is what it is. Life on life's terms.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, maybe, they always say wait around because the fucking quote unquote miracle will be right around the corner. So I'm just waiting around. Not like I'm playing out here like, yo, I'm gonna relapse. No, because that's stupid. That's just gonna make it
Right.
fucking worse. Yeah. I mean, I threw that comment out earlier just as a joke, but
Well, but do any of these things, do you ever think this is too much? I should just fucking rip open a bottle of Evan Williams and
no, because it just makes it way harder.
yeah.
Plus,
Yeah.
then I gotta go and fucking expose myself to the Rona to go get a fucking bottle. Like, oh god, really? Like, I barely want to expose myself to the Rona to get coffee. Do you know what I mean? When I run out of like my cold water, cold water brew that I can only get at the Safeway over here, so I get up at 6 a.m. and go over there. The doors open at 7, and I'm waiting at the door for them to unlock it.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm not gonna risk that shit to have a hangover and to get drunk and to be ranting and raving to my wife and kid because they'll just be trapped in the house with me and me being like, sucking election. That's lame.
Yeah.
No. At least on my timeline, that's lame. I mean, no, this is lame in general, but no, it's just been stressful. It's been a weird kind of just a never-ending anxiety, and I'm trying. Try.
Yeah. I hear you there, man. Like it's fucking stressful. And it's funny because I know that we live very different lives. Obviously, we're different people, but I go out into the coronavirus world every day and until they fucking shut me down.
That's the unfortunate part is you have to.
Right. I don't want to. I mean, if I had my preference, it would be stay the fuck away.
Right.
But, so I really like to believe that we're all doing the best we can. And
I think we are. Yeah. I have faith in humanity in general. I think just circumstances right now.
Yeah.
I've been very stressed about them, and it's really difficult for me to leave things alone. It's my compulsive, obsessive nature. So, my mom will be like, you're concentrating too much. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, what do you mean don't worry about it? Now, let's just put the election aside. Like, I've still got to worry about pandemic and getting my ass back to Arizona where my prospects are very, very different than they are here. Not that I have many prospects here because of Corona. I'm not really tattooing. I mean, I could go out there with everybody else at the shop and start doing a quarter of the tattoos I was doing before.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? I'm making the same amount of money fucking painting commission paintings,
And you feel safer. You are being safer,
I'm being safer. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to bring it home to my family, and I don't want to give it to someone else. Like, I don't want to give it to some poor old person. I want everybody to be able to see their grandmas next year. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I was talking to my mom the other day and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck to do with her. And, she's stuck alone and she's talking about wanting to move back up to where her youngest grandkid is. And she had just moved from there, in the last couple of years. And, and I think that a lot of this quite possibly stems from being isolated for her. And I'm like, well, I don't want to be unsafe, but should I make a plan to see my mother?
Yeah.
And I don't fucking know the real answer to that. We talked about it and like, should I go visit her and stay in an Airbnb? That sounds fucking awful.
Right. Yeah.
but also not seeing my mom for as long as I have. And it's not just like I want to see my mom, which I do, but I'm more concerned about her isolation and how that's going to affect her in the next year.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that we're all dealing with all of these things every day.
Right.
And we still come to the fact that we don't drink. Right. So,
right. But that's so weird though, man. I see this is the difficulty I have with that at the stage I'm in my recovery, is that that's not even a fucking factor. Like, that's not even a factor for me. And I'm not bragging or trying to flex. I'm just saying, like, all this shit is stressing me out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sitting here going, man, on top of it, I can't drink. Like, that just doesn't even factor into my life whatsoever right now. The thought of recovery or not drinking. I just don't fucking drink. It's just what I do. Do you know what I'm saying? So for me, I'm in a different place than maybe another listener who's out there. They're in definitely a different place than me. They're like, fucking on top of all this, I can't drink either. Like, that's their reality. But my reality, speaking to people listening to this podcast, is like, I don't have to drink, is what I think. Like, all this shit is going down. And you know what the bonus is I don't have to get fucked up anymore. I don't have to.
You don't have
I don't have to do that shit. So I don't even fucking think about that shit. You know, that being said, my wife brought home this hand sanitizer she got the other day from the school, and it was made by a distillery. And I poured it on my hands, and it was liquid. It didn't even gel. It was just flat liquid. And that shit smelled like tequila. Like, it smelled like booze. Like, I smelled like I poured booze all over my hands, you know? And my initial reaction was like, this smells fucking horrible, but I hate tequila. But anyway, if it were like Evan Williams and I poured it all over my hands, even then I'd probably be bummed out and be like, this smells gross, you know? So to me, in the context of this podcast, I understand it's a recovery podcast, but it's just not this thing that's there all the time. It rises up occasionally. And also it's really difficult for me to be like, oh man, you know, the temptation's there, or that bolt of recovery is there, because I'm in my house. I'm not even seeing other people. And so for me, I guess my trigger is being around other people who are drinking and having a good time. My FOMO, faux show, you know, that's what's fucking me up. But like, no, man, this.
You know, our friend Eric, who lives in Eugene, he makes hand sanitizer for the distillery he works for, or whatever.
And his hand sanitizer, I should go get the bottle and see.
But yeah, I was making my own because I wanted some like high proof, you know, that's because that's the way that I think. And so it was really strong, right? I was doing the aloe vera gel with the ethanol, not the ethanol, the rubbing alcohol, and everybody at work was like, "Ooh, that's really strong." And I was like, "Yeah, that means it's working. That means it's clean."
Velva.
You know, yeah, exactly. And so for me, but I've always been somebody who's into those intense like smells and stuff like that, obviously, as an alcoholic. But, you know, I like when I'm cleaning the bathroom, I like it to smell like bleach for a couple of days. Like, ooh, that means it's, when it burns, that means it's working. Right?
It's working, kid. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So that's just my reality on it. When I factor in the stress of what's going on in my life right now, drinking doesn't come up right now, because I feel like it was my coping mechanism, but now that I realize it's a useless coping mechanism, I don't fuck with it really. It like doesn't come up because it's not part of my reality. Now, if we're doing this podcast and I'm in the thick of living in Arizona, I might be sitting here telling you a whole different story. But as circumstances are right now, I'm like, you know. Like everything's in a huge paradigm shift. Everything's changing around me. And all I can do is just kind of flow with it, be a little irritable on the podcast, I guess, and then move on, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I don't know what else, you know, like there's not much else I can do. I pack and I paint and I play this little video game where I'm stranded on a desert island and I got to gather up coconuts and not die.
Are you playing Animal Crossing? What's going on?
No, I'm playing Stranded Deep. You should check it out. It's a good single player survival game.
Is that the dude from Walking Dead looking all raggedy?
No.
What am I thinking of? Stranding Alone? He's like, it's Norman Reedus like plays the character.
Oh, that's Death Stranding. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And he basically
but you're a courier. I didn't mean to.
Yeah, I heard a review of that game because it was all hyped up when it came out. And then they said basically you're just like a fucking UPS guy in a post-apocalyptic world. You're just
waiting for cutscenes and walking around with boxes. There's more to it, you know. Right. You can watch any YouTube fucking essay on it that'll tell you there's way more to it, but I wasn't gonna spend $60 on it. I was like,
Right.
nah.
So when you talk about at this point in recovery, drinking is not an option, or that you like, oh, I don't have to do it. And I think part of that is, and I think you'll agree with me, is that this particular program, that this particular path we have decided to follow, is right. They say it's a spiritual path. So drinking was and still is, to me, it was one of many problems that I dealt with. One of many things. It was the biggest one, and it was the one that clouded over every single other problem that I had to get out of the way first. But when I look at it, I go, oh, okay, so I have to work on myself spiritually. And I'm like, oh, well, what the fuck does that mean?
Right.
And that's part of the path, is figuring out what
Right. And I
that means.
Right. And I know I come off a little harsh, and I hate to come off like I know something everybody else doesn't know, because I am not graduated this program. I am not like on a higher level of this MLM we call recovery. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to give you 2 boxes and be like, all right, you go sell this recovery shit. Like, this is just the mind frame I'm in right now, as far as alcoholism, recovery, drinking and temptation or coping mechanisms. It's just not on my plate right now. But that being said, everything is uncertain. So maybe in the future, maybe it's tomorrow. I don't know. But right now, as I sit today, and where I've been sitting, looking back the past few weeks when everything started ramping up, I was like, that's the last thing on my mind. Like, I would rather eat a fuckload of cookies. I would rather eat a bag of candy corn and throw up than fucking drink whiskey right now, honestly. And my wife just bought candy corn, and I fucking love candy corn. And there's been a lot of candy corn hate out there on the internet, which I find really concerning, because my favorite candies are considered the grossest candy. Circus peanuts and candy corns are like my favorite shits. Everybody hates on them.
It's fucked up, Jerry.
Dude, it's intolerant. And that's why I'm hoping this whole fucking administration changes, so we just get the intolerance out, you know?
Get the intolerance over candy corn and circus peanuts.
You know that this dude who's the president right now doesn't eat candy. He doesn't enjoy anything. He just wants to be mad all the time. Anyway, we're here to talk about songs.
Yes, we're going to talk about
John's Rona kicks up there.
Oh my God. So, I don't have the Rona, but
I know you don't. I'm just joking around.
I know. Well, just so
edgy. I'm trying out all my edgy stuff today.
Yes. So yes, it's a spiritual program. We're here to talk about spirituality and recovery. And today, S is for sober songs, or I was thinking like songs in sobriety, or
Christian rap.
Sober songs say so much when it creeps into your room. Whoa, whoa.
Yeah. Is that Elton John, or is
that's EJ? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I've received many emails and messages. You know, you got a box from a guy who you got a package from a guy who's a musician.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Lots of musicians, lots of artists, but musicians especially have an interesting way of dealing with recovery and sobriety and drinking. And I got another message from this young lady who's an artist, and she was very excited to hear us talk about Andrew Bird and how much we loved Andrew Bird. And I don't know what
Andrew Bird's dope. Anyways,
the shit. So, and I remember thinking, like, when I got into him, you know, back in the 90s with Squirrel Nut Zippers, and just her and I had this little back and forth about how each one of his albums are so vastly different, but there's so much him. When you look at like Mysterious Production of Eggs versus Swimming Hour, they're like night and day, but it's still like Bird. And then she said, "Oh, did you know that Jeff Tweedy was supposed to play the Undertaker in Fargo originally, or something like that?" I was like, I had no idea.
But he was too much of a dick.
I don't know. I've never gotten into Wilco. I mean,
They have a couple good songs, but he's kind of a dick. But that doesn't. Whatever. They have a couple pretty good songs though.
So one of there's a few big artists, and I want to talk to you about like listening to music while drinking and listening to music while being sober, and you know what you do and don't. And I think one of her questions was going to be, was there anything that you just had to quit listening to? And I don't think because I was sober there were songs that would would trigger me.
Trigger, yeah.
But I wanted to start with a story about coming to visit you in like 2016, I think. And the first time.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? And we were going to go see Mike Doty play at a record store. So this wasn't even like a big, I mean, he was on tour.
I thought that was 2018. Oh, no, never mind.
No,
Keep going.
2018 was, yeah. So,
the second time.
So 2016, I went to go see you. And one of my favorite, if not my favorite Mike Doty album is Haughty Melodic.
Mm-hmm.
And I listened to that thing blackout drunk on repeat for years, on and off, right? It never got old in my drunken state. And I remember listening to it sober, and I don't remember which song. I think it was Unsingable Name, or it might have been White Lexus, or it might have been one of those. And just driving out of the driveway here, and I started crying because it came on. And I was like, oh, Jesus. I started to understand this album, and I think he was sober when he wrote it.
Yeah.
But it touched me in such a way when I was drunk, and then I was able to listen to it with completely different ears. And when we went to go visit you, and I remember being at the record store, and I remember seeing you, and it was really awkward because we hadn't seen each other in fucking years. And the last time had been
sober. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we were listening to him play, and I went to go up and get something signed, and he didn't have Haughty Melodic on vinyl, which I was disappointed. So I got Stellar Motel, which is still a good album, but not my favorite. And I had him sign wanted to say, hey man, and I told him the story that I just told you about Haughty Melodic, and I said I used to listen to that when I was drunk all the time, and now that I'm sober, I hear it in such a different way. Those songs hit me in such a different way. And he looked at me and he just went, yeah, me too. Yeah, that was and that was the extent of our conversation, and then he signed my album, and we went on our way. And I remember at one point we were going to go get sushi, and he was like loading up the car, and I was almost going to be like, hey man, you want to go get sushi with us? But I didn't want to fucking bother the guy, and who knows, maybe he's got to go do whatever. And but if anybody out there knows Mike Doty, and I've reached out to him a few times on Instagram, I've never heard anything. If he wants to be on the show, we'd love to have him talk about sobriety. But White Lexus was one of these songs that from Haughty Melodic that also I think in the book of drugs that he wrote, he talks about going to an AA meeting in New York, and something about there were a lot of celebrities that went to this meeting, and I want to read some of the lyrics to this, and he talks about like a soap star in anguish, shrill but bland, when your white Lexus comes around the way, idling in the long driveway. And I always wondered if that was a reference to that AA meeting that he went to. But, this song starts off, please show me how to live. Please show me how to have a day. I don't want to wake up now. Why do I have to wake up anyway?
Yeah.
And I feel like those lines, I listened to them drunk, and I was like, man, that's all I want. Why do I have to wake up?
Yeah.
And definitely in early recovery, I felt similarly.
Yeah.
I didn't want to die necessarily. I just wanted the pain to stop and relief to come. Try to feel nothing on command when your white Lexus comes. Be thrilled, be damned. I forgive the world right now. I still play the chump's role every time. My world's the surface of the moon. My heart's down in a diamond mine. And so it goes on and on. But it was something that was really powerful to me about that feeling of longing and feeling lost and feeling maudlin. It's maudlin. And I think that's a big theme for me when I think of Mike Doty and Andrew Bird and even Tom Waits. I think that maybe melancholy, but maudlin is and it's like the romanticizing of sadness. And I just know that album and that song and that moment of going to visit you and getting to meet him was really powerful. And I don't listen to the album nearly as much as I used to. And when it comes on, it's always nice on shuffle, and I'll listen to a song, but I don't know. How do you feel about Mike Doty these days?
I still love his music. My relationship with music has changed a lot, especially in quarantine, because I don't listen to music as much when I'm doing things as when
Mm-hmm.
when I was alone. Like when Megan and Olive would go off to school. Oh, it's a hairdryer. Sorry. When Megan and Olive would go off to school, and then I would work out and then make breakfast and get ready, I would listen to music mostly. But now I just listen to podcasts all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have a run mix, and this run mix is like 2 hours long now. It's like replaced my other mix, which my other mix on, because it's all Spotify now. Like for me, I don't buy anything anymore, so I have another mix on Spotify that's like 5 hours long. Like I've just been stacking songs that I like. But the run mix, like, yeah, Doty's on it. Doty's definitely on it, and he's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I mean, music has been an enormous part of my life. It's never been background for me, and I've never been a musician really. I mean, I played some drums, I rapped a little, but nothing serious, But for me, music's always been an enormous part of the creative process, big part of the healing process. But yeah, no, I love Doty. The big thing for me when I first started getting sober was that Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats, and that song "Son of a Bitch" was how it got recommended.
Yes,
someone recommended it to me. It was the barber next door. This guy, this huge beard, Brooklyn J, and he's like, "You got to check this guy out. He's in recovery or whatever." It turns out Nathaniel Rateliff was not in fucking recovery at all. He was still drunk as hell. But that song "Son of a Bitch" was a real motherfucker, and that's how I felt, like deep in my core in that summer, like with that 2015, 16,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wait, so he's not? I assumed he was.
No, he still drinks his shit. I think he's like one of those dudes who is in and out of recovery. You know what I mean? Like, I don't, once again, I don't know anything about his life. But, I was reading an interview with him, and he was like drinking bourbon the whole time, talking about how this song was inspired by him going to AA meetings. So, one foot in, one foot out, in and out, whatever. But that song was really big for me. Music's weird, man, because that's one of those things where you're in early recovery, you don't think about anything. You're just trying to get to the next day. At least I was just trying to scramble the next day. So music to me was more of like a luxury item. It was just like kind of on. It was like background noise. I was in the tattoo shop. Well, what's it going to be? Fucking NWA or Social Distortion? Like, I guess that's all I got today. And then listening to the Bronx on a loop, the whole time I was going through early recovery. I think once I got my feet and hands in it and could kind of hold on to it a little better, that's when I kind of could indulge a little bit more and listen to music. And of course, yeah, even movies, certain movies. Like there's movies I've seen drunk that I've never seen sober that I probably will never watch. Like fucking World War Z. Like love the book. Loved World War Z book. Yes. They made that movie with Brad Pitt. I've never saw it sober. Every time I watched it, I'd be drinking. I'd just black out or go to sleep. And at this point, I'm like, well, what's the use? Everybody's like, it's a pretty good movie. And I'm like, nah, what's the use, man? I've tried 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. Yeah. I don't have a particular one, but I certainly know that there was a period where I would get off work from the bar at like 3 a.m. and I would walk home. And one of my stops would be the 24-hour grocery store to go buy food. Right. Not because I would just buy trash. I'd be buying like turkey wraps and Cheetos and fucking, peanut M&Ms. Yeah.
Something salty to keep you alive. Yeah.
Basically. Mm-hmm. But I would also, they had like cheap ass DVDs. This is how long ago this was. Mm-hmm. So I'd be buying like $3.99 DVDs. I'd get drunk and buy like, oh, I need to get the breakup with Vince Vaughn and Jennifer Aniston. Like, right. I don't fucking know why. Right. Because it was $3.99.
Which that entire movie only had one good fucking line in it, and that was it. It was that one where the guy there's a scene where like his buddy is trying to fuck him over out of something, and he looks at him and like male solidarity. He's like, Band of Brothers, you ever hear of it? You should rent it sometime. Like just calling him out on like fucking selling him out. That's it. The entire rest of the movie is hot trash. You're lucky.
But yeah, so I have lots of those where it's like, why did I get the breakup? So that I could just have something. I just wanted something to watch and be drunk and pass out to.
Right.
So, but back to music and just the idea of things I don't listen to anymore. There's plenty but I think that's more about being older and being in a different mindset than it is about sobriety versus, although, listening to NoFX sing, something about like round and round and bottles to the ground and like
Yeah.
talking about breaking beer bottles, which seemed fun, you know, at the time.
Yeah, bottles to the ground. Or what's the other one? The one they have that whole song about getting sober.
Do they?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Nothing seems so much fun. Nothing seems
that fun anymore.
That's what it is. Yeah.
And I remember hearing that when I was drinking and just like, fuck it. We don't want to not have fun. Mm-hmm. Nothing seems much fun anymore to me. Yeah. But I don't really listen to NoFX anymore just because I just don't. It's not that I have
outgrew it a little.
Yeah, I don't have anything.
I still like them.
Yeah,
I still like them, and if they come on, I'm stoked. But I'm not going to be like, yo, I need to listen to Punk and Drublick again. That's gonna fucking kill it. That's me though, right?
Right.
Here's a good example, like Mishka. Like when I first heard Mishka, I heard him on the Doug Stanhope podcast, and I heard his music because Doug Stanhope would use the "Am I the Only One Drinking Tonight" as his theme song. And I was drunk. I was living in Arizona in 2011, and I was fucking hammered. And I would listen to Stanhope, and then I found that, and there wasn't even Spotify back then. It was like I had to find it on fucking the other one. I can't remember the name of Pandora. Right? And so I would listen to that song over and over again because that like really summed up what I was doing at that point. You know, it was that idea of looking around the room and being like, am I the only one drinking tonight? Really? Like, I thought everybody here was as fucked up as I was. You were saying that we're all not going home tonight in an ambulance, you know, like, yeah, it was this wild abandon and this like drowning of one's inner self that I loved. And now when I hear it sober, I still think it's a really good song, and he really exemplifies that kind of mindset, but it makes me sad. Like, I feel sad for Jerry in 2011. I feel sad for anybody who's in that position because, and it's not like man, I don't want it to come off as a judgmental thing that I'm like judging people feeling sorry for them. That's not it at all. I just feel sad. Like, man, it could be better for you. It really could be.
Yeah, I think so. Let's not say it's pity, and let's say that I have empathy. Like I am open.
Thank you. Yeah, it's an empathy. It's a sad empathy. You know,
right? It's sort of empathy is being open to something or someone. Pity is sort of being closed off and just like, oh, I'm sad and I don't want to, think about that person. So, yeah, man. And
it's got that other song too. That fuck being sober. I can't remember the name of it now. Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to put it in because I used to love that song too. Yeah.
So Mishka, to me, well, I didn't find him until I got sober, and I heard him on the Rich Roll podcast, and he was talking a bunch of shit about. He's like, Rich, I'm basically like standing in for all the people who listen to you are kind of like on the fence about what's up with this dude who's a fucking ultra runner, vegan, blah blah blah. Like, and so he was talking a bunch of shit, and I was like, that's exactly right. And so the more I delved into and started listening to his music and reading his books, and I was, he and I are, basically the same age, and we have a lot of like correlating, events in our life. Mm-hmm. He got sober fucking 6 years before I did. So
5 or something
like that. Yeah. So 10 years before I did. So, but that was a huge thing for me, when I got to go and meet him and watch him play in a bar, and I was sober, he was sober, and this dude sitting next to me with his girlfriend was fucking hammered and singing along to every single song and just in love with it. And I don't know if that guy knew that Mishka was sober or not. I don't know. He certainly wasn't interested in anything.
And would he care though? Would he care?
No, I don't think so. I don't think I would have cared.
I mean, would you give a shit if you and I were at the Sunset Tavern in Seattle? We were gonna go see Mishka, and we were fucked up, and you were like, I'm like, this dude's in recovery. You'd be like, who fucking cares?
I'm the only one drinking
being sober. Yeah.
So and so, I think to me it was really powerful to I drove down there. I listened to his music in the car to kind of get a vibe for the new album that he had out. And I was able to watch him play, and then I got to meet him and talk to him. And I did a whole podcast if you want to go find it on the feed, but just talking to him, I got to interview him and ask him a bunch of questions. And it was like, it was a really pivotal moment for me to like see somebody who had done this and who hadn't sort of he talks about it when we talked about, he's like, sometimes I'm an asshole and I don't want to lose being an asshole. And so
Yeah.
I don't want to have to get fucking, I don't remember exactly how he put it, but I don't want to lose all that. And I was like, okay,
I can
cool.
absolutely relate to that, man.
So whereas, me, I was like, yeah, I'm ready to fucking throw all that stuff away and move on and be, whatever. But it was really, I don't know that I wouldn't have loved it in the same way. If I had heard it and I was drunk, like if like you heard it on the Stanhope, and Stanhope's a fucking notorious alcoholic, right?
Yeah.
Or heavy drinker. I don't know if he's an alcoholic.
Well, I mean, 6 one way, half a dozen another, whatever you want to call it,
So I love being, and that Mishka still plays these songs, or would if there was shows, and he was so kind to this drunk guy. Like the guy was fucking wasted, and he was patient and he was kind. And it's like, well, if that's how you make your money, and he's like, yeah, I'll sign your stuff, and I'm grateful to have every fan, even if they are a little bit fucking hammered.
Yeah. See, and even in there, he's talking about wanting to maintain being an asshole and not being into the program, but then he's like living aspects of the program. Do you know what I mean? Showing kindness and empathy and patience towards a person who's an actively drunk. I don't know if this person sitting next to you is an alcoholic or it's just Friday. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But yeah, so that shit hits different. It all hits. I think some of the stuff that was really important to me hits differently than it does now. Yacht rock. Like yacht rock and I have a weird ass relationship now. It's hard to it's different to listen to now. I like it, but I don't like it as much as I used to. I like it in a different way than I used to.
Steely Dan.
Yeah, because that makes me think about drinking. Actually, yacht rock doesn't make me want to crave a drink, but it definitely makes me think of drinking in Arizona when I was really banging out a lot of yacht rock in Arizona, like listening to Steely Dan, Michael McDonald, that fucking Kenny Loggins, that early Hall & Oates and shit. Like, that totally was like my prime fucking drinking time. And so when I hear it now, I think about those times and being like, yeah, I'd sit in the backyard on a fucking hammock and just get fucking stoned till I couldn't see, get so fucking drunk listening to Kenny Loggins sing "This Is It."
This is because it was smooth and it was fun and it was like there was this notion you could float. Exactly. It just
And now I'm like, well, this shit is still smooth and nice, but and it doesn't make me worry. It just hits a little different. Like I'm like, oh, there's a kind of a ragged edge to this now. Right. I remember those things. But those times are good times, though. Here, this is the thing where I'm making this appeal to Coda now before he flips off the TV and he's like, fuck you guys. But so those are good times, though. Parts of that was good. Parts of that was nice, man. I cannot look back on the wreckage of that shit and be like, it was all fucking bad, man. No, man, I can't fuck with that. Like, sitting on that hammock feeling mildly stoned before the fucking blackout came was great. It was.
That's why we continued to do it until it wasn't fun anymore, is because it was fun in a minute, right? That's, or, for a minute. And I think that music, I think if I had never I found music before I found alcohol.
Same here.
So it was always going to be a theme. I can't count the number of nights, and you were there for many of them, where I would have these huge record collections, right? And I would just flip out records and play songs and then throw them on the ground. And I would the record collection that was in the shelves would just become this pile on the floor because we just wanted to play fun songs and drink and get hammered and like, oh, I got another one. And oh, I got another one. And there was a lot of fun to that. There was wreckage, and it almost always ended in a blackout, and there was consequences for that blackout.
Just your actions during those blackouts, right? Like the things you were doing, saying to people, and then everything surrounding it. I mean, that's the whole fucking basis of this podcast. That's the whole basis of our recovery, is that those things were fun, but then everything else that was around it, or everything else you had to give up to have that fun or whatever, it was just unmanageable.
So, I mean, more music for me nowadays, and I don't know, maybe you're different, but I do have a running playlist for sure. Mine's about 6 hours long, and I kind of switch.
Yeah,
swap,
mine's only 2 hours. I have to swap out too. You got a good running playlist. Your running playlist is a little weird though. Like you'll send me songs and be like, "How about you run to this?" And it's some like funk jam that's the BPM is way slow. I'm like, "Are you just speed walking to this?" Yeah, like.
Well, I kind of find other things, and sometimes I slow down with it.
I love
but
it
yeah,
though. It's not bad. It's just to me, I stay between like 120 and 140 beats per minute. Those are all my running songs.
And
because I like that tempo.
You are probably training a lot better than I am, because
not better, just different.
Well, there's a thing, and I know this episode's about music, but if you're in the gray zone, you should either be working on distance and endurance, which is kind of more of a slower pace, or you should be working on speed, which is sort of like getting above the threshold. So like you should be really pushing yourself, or you should be taking it as easy as possible, but still
in the middle of that though, because I'm doing like 11 to 12 minute miles on average. You know,
so
I did a 9:45 the other day for a mile. Made me feel really good, but I was fucking gassed. My lungs were like, "Word, you're gonna do 5 today too?" Yeah, I'm gonna do 5, bitch. But anyway.
But so I like to mix it up, and I can always skip it or something, but sometimes I'll do slow and sometimes I do fast. And
this is like jamming out to Frank Ocean running a fucking wine field, like a grape field. That's how I always picture like.
There's a great Frank Ocean song, and I think it's called Sweet Life. Do you know it?
Yes, send it to me. It's on one of my mixes actually.
Okay, I fucking love that song.
You texted it to me and said, "Check out this song," and I was like, "Oh, this is a pretty ass song." Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't. Frank Ocean.
With music, it's like nowadays, like you keep trying to say, and I keep interrupting you, is that like I access it through my run playlist now, which I imagine is what you're trying to say. Sorry.
Or it's more about ambiance. It's more about a vibe. So either I listen to ambient music, like our friend Joe does the theme here. He just re-released one of his old albums from back in the day on Bandcamp, but they remastered it and added some stuff, so I like that. Or I'll listen to like classical, or I listen to the what's it called, the chill hop vibes, hip hop vibes.
Lo-fi music study too. Yeah,
so I'll put that stuff on just because I want like to set a mood, rather than I don't listen to too many albums the same way that I used to, where I like buy a CD and rip it open and like try to peel the little sticker off the top without fucking ruining it.
Tabs out, lift it. Yeah.
Exactly. So I don't do that too much anymore. And I don't do that anymore at all. I don't buy a CD. No, so I mean,
I'm throwing out a bunch of CDs actually.
You know, an album will come out and I will get it. I'll stream it from whatever, Apple or Spotify or whatever. And sometimes I'll listen to the whole thing if I'm really excited about it. But the last time, I think, like, I don't know, Faith No More came out with an album and I was like, ugh, it wasn't even,
Right. And they were like your favorite band.
They were my favorite band in high school. And
now it's like,
now I'm like, yeah, it doesn't.
Listen to Angel Dust again.
Yeah. I mean, right. Angel Dust still makes me feel good.
But I have been discovering newer things in my late 40s. Not newer things. I've been discovering older music that I realized I liked now. Have you noticed that? Has that happened to you, I guess? Like I put a fucking an Audio Slave song on my running playlist, right? And I fucking really liked it. And I was like, yo, this Chris Cornell's got a fucking voice. So then I started listening to Soundgarden again, which I never really liked, because I listened to punk rock, man. I didn't listen to no grunge. Like, yeah. And so I've been listening to Soundgarden again. I'm like, whoa, this dude can fucking sing, and these guys are good musicians, you know? So I rediscover older things. I don't know how I put them in the context of alcoholism, because music has always been, like I said, very important, but always very background as well. It existed in two ways, you know? You know, I was thinking about, we were going to talk about music. It must have been like 2004, but no, it was like 2001 or 2. Coda took me to go see the Black Crowes. I was fucking really hungover, dude. I mean, I had been on like a 4-day bender. We rolled up there. I had a migraine. I thought I was gonna shit my pants. and I ran into you at the Black Crowes concert, and you were with
Yes.
your ex-girlfriend who wouldn't let us hang out with each other.
Yes.
So we couldn't even see the show together because she was like, "Oh, those guys are fucking assholes. They make you drink too much." And which is funny because in your mind you're like, "No, baby, I make myself drink too much. Those guys,
I don't need them.
Those guys just
Yeah.
have booze." You know, but I remember seeing that show, and I remember Coda getting you really into the Black Crowes.
He did.
Which surprised me, really. It honestly did, because I was like, man, that's Coda music. That's like some hokey straw hat fucking banjo shit that I don't fuck with. Like, that's some weird Leonard Skinner shit. Yeah. Yeah, back then. Now I realize it's really good. But it's so funny because it surprised me when you were like, man, this fucking slaps. Like, this song goes, dude. And so does it have different context? Does that have different context to you now? Like when you hear some songs?
I think the Black Crowes, like sometimes, but I mean with the Black Crowes, it was always, I don't listen to them as much, but they definitely, that's a band that's always kind of stayed with me as far as like why I love them. And when I found them, I remember the moment listening to Shake Your Moneymaker, and I was working the decontamination part of the sterile processing.
Yeah, dude, which is so weird, man. Just
fucking weird job.
Listening to the Black Crowes and working in a sterile environment. Anyway.
So yeah. I'm used to wearing masks and shields and paper gowns. I did that shit for like 4 years, and gloves and stuff. But
yeah.
And I was like, dude, this album is amazing. How come I never fucking, I think I bought it used somewhere. And but I wanted to say, put Soundgarden's Pretty Noose on your running playlist. That's a good one. And
yeah, because I had like Black Hole Sun for the cool down. That song's a fucking cut though. I'm sorry, I don't care. That song's a cut.
So as I regale you with more stories of rock stars that I've met, I did want to mention that I worked at a bar that was around the corner from a bar that was owned partially by Ben Shepherd, who is the bass player from Soundgarden. And
was that the Hazelwood?
That was the Hazelwood, yeah. And I don't know where he's at now, and I don't know anything, and I don't want to speak poorly, but there was many a sloppy night that was not. I was included, you know, with him, and I remember many nights being fucking just blackout drunk, and I don't have anything. Honestly,
didn't he want to beat you up? Is that what the story's going? Wanted to beat you
there
up?
was there was some
with his
issue.
wife, John.
I danced with his girlfriend.
Oh.
Because he wouldn't get up and dance with her, and I was like, "Fuck it, I don't care." Because I was
fucking dance with you. Do you know who I am?
I
you know where I work?
Drunk on green chartreuse.
Fucking Walter.
Yeah. So
do you know where I work?
Right. Basically. Oh, what an asshole I was. And so it was like, and it was never. I guess the point is like meeting famous people and meeting rock stars. It's never been good drinking. You know what I mean? I used to go, my friend was the tour manager and the merchandise guy for the Killers. And I got fucking kicked out of the first Killers on their first tour. Like, cause we were drunk I was drunk in the stall with Opie. And, they pulled us out of there, and Opie had the whiskey bottle in his fucking jacket. And the guy's like, "Give me the booze." And Opie's like, "No, man, there's no booze. We were just making out in there." And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "That's fucking brilliant. We were just making out in there." And he's like,
"Hey, you were in Seattle, right?"
Yeah, we were.
Yeah, where it was not weird for two men to just make out in Seattle. Like you know what I mean? It was genius though in the moment, but it really wasn't in hindsight.
It was exactly. It was genius in the moment. It was.
No, because there's a ton of gay people doing gay stuff in Seattle. It's not like, yo, we got to go hide out in a stall in the bathroom and just tongue kiss. No, you guys were drinking booze, and the bouncer was smarter than you dudes. Go ahead.
But every time that I remember going to see, like, the Killers would come and I remember my buddy, I was so drunk one time.
Right.
And he was like, "Man," and I really wanted to be on the radio. Like, I really wanted to be a radio DJ. I wanted to be, do something. And he's like, "I wish I could introduce you to some of these people, but you're just too drunk." And I don't think he didn't mean anything by it. And he wasn't being a rude asshole. Like, he was just like, "Hey," and that struck me. And that didn't strike me enough to quit drinking. But it was always something I remember that moment of feeling so disappointed and so sad and so, like, I hated myself for that moment of being so drunk that, like, there could have been an opportunity backstage at the Key Arena with somebody or something. And if I had just been sober, there could have been something.
Right.
And I was too drunk to take that opportunity.
Yeah.
Now,
it's okay though, Johnny. Radio's dead now. So
right. I mean, here we are.
Podcasting.
Podcasting. So, but it was just like, what the fuck, man? Like there was just, I mean, and it goes hand in hand, right? Rock and roll, sex, drugs, rock and roll, alcohol, Whiskey River, all that shit.
Right. All that shit.
So, so I don't know that I listen. Things come up, but there's nothing that's off the table anymore. I'm just not interested in it. There's nothing. I don't have any musical triggers. I don't hear like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, you're not like, oh shit, it's Enter Sandman. I remember all that fucking beer or whatever. Yeah.
All that sobriety out the window. Yeah. You know, and I told this story too. I'm going to tell you my last rock star story. I just want to get.
I don't have any, dude. I sold mushrooms once to Dale the Funky Homo Sapien, and that was about it.
I didn't know you sold mushrooms.
I didn't know I was selling mushrooms either until the guy who was in the graffiti crew gave me mushrooms and said, "Go sell those to Dale." I said, "Okay."
How was that?
Bring me back the money. Well, I gave him the mushrooms and said, "Give me the money," and he gave me the money, and then I took it back to my friend. He said, "Here's like $5. Go get yourself something."
That was it.
Burrito or something. Yeah. That was it. It literally was like crossing a room. Like he's all here. I got shit to do. Go give these to Dell and he'll give you $40. And he gave me a big ass bag of mushrooms. And I walked over to Dell and said, "Here, so-and-so wanted you to give me this. And now you got to give me $40. And he's like, "All right, man." And here's $40. And then
Mr. Dabalini, Mr.
Which
Bob,
in 1992, 93, $40 was a lot of money. Like, yeah, dude, that was like fucking 3 or 4 bottles of booze and burrito from fucking Los Betos. Shit, man.
Mm-hmm. So the last, well, I don't want to say the last, but one of
regale us with the tales of John on the road. This is like that movie.
What, Almost Famous?
Yes, yeah, Shining Golden God, dude.
Okay. So I've told you this before, and Tom Waits is notorious, you know, drinking music. The piano has been drinking. We've talked about my bad breakup and how I listened to Tom Waits for a year straight in the bar and made everybody else listen to it every single night. So that I could. But when I met him in Petaluma, and I was like, because of the jean jacket and the jeans and the boots, and I was like, I know who that is. I could just tell from afar, you know, from the back, and I didn't go up to him. And then I was like, oh, he's standing outside that consignment shop. This is my chance. I'll never see him again. Do you say something? Do you not? And I just went up to him and I was like, "Mr. Waits," I can't remember if I shook his hand now. I think I did.
Probably.
And I just said, I just wanted to say I've been a big fan for a long time. And I want to say that it's been inspirational, you know, something to the effect of, it's been inspiring to know that you're sober. And I appreciate that too. And he kind of just looked at me and said, "Okay."
Yeah.
He didn't smile or anything, and that was it. He was just kind of taken aback. And
thanks for making it weird, kid.
But I think if somebody like Tom Waits can get fucking sober, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
that's
people who have created their entire identities around alcohol and drugs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Created entire fucking universes. Musical universes around.
But they're performing though, you know what I'm saying? Like it's all performative. They live, some of them live that life, but those motherfuckers die. You know, they die super early. Think about all these little rappers that are all dying. And like Mac Miller and these motherfuckers who are doing this type of hip hop and saying, "Oh yeah, we're about that life. We live that life," and then they fucking die, dude. And I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
You know, that's some sad shit. I just see Tom Waits being like, "Thanks a lot, kid. Just waiting for my wife to go buy some Nog Champa.
Basically,
start fucking bothering me."
That was basically the kind of shop it was.
Congratulations, you don't drink, you know, like.
That was probably his inner monologue or his thoughts. I don't know, but.
Yeah. But no, you're right, though. They build these universes. We interpret their performance and we give it our own spin on it.
Yeah.
because I could be listening to fucking Black Hole Sun on my run being like, well, this is about this really heady, deep concept. And Chris Cornell's Ghost could be like, no, man, I just needed a word that rhymed with sun. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing to it that is what it is. Or even Nathaniel Rateliff could be like, this whole song that you listen to on repeat, which I rarely would do anymore, he'd be like, yo, that's just a share I heard at a meeting
Thanks again for listening. Our music, as always, is by Neglect. You can find more of his stuff at neglect.bandcamp.com.
And you can find us on all social media platforms that matter: Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And you can reach us at aisforalcoholic@gmail.com.
Talk to you later.
Yeah.